I want to get it so I don't look like I've got a pea head.
Look at that. You're so sexy. Are you still on your period, Carmen?
No, it was really short.
Short but sweet.
Guys, you do know we started recording?
We have recorded. Okay. Yeah, really short. I was saying to Chris
finished already?
this morning, he was like, I haven't even got my moon cup in. So I'm taking today as I'm done.
God damn it.
What about you, Fee?
I'm probably coming off today. 4 to 5 days. Mine are normally 4 or 5 days. And then, 28 to 30 days cycle, Bobs.
Well, we were all in sync, and then I'm on like day 35 and still waiting.
Oh no.
I know. I mean,
symptoms.
I'm adamant. I keep saying, it's gonna be the end of this week, or it's gonna be this week, because normally at the minute, the way I've been tracking it, it reckons I'm on like a 5-week cycle. So it would be 5 weeks on Saturday. So I'm like, oh, it will happen. But we know that if you do constantly think about it and stress about it, then it won't happen. So
True.
But anyway, so welcome, guys. We have decided we're going to do a series of periods chats, because a lot of people always think of it as a taboo subject. We've been doing lots of research into it, and the three of us in particular, we always chat about periods and training, stuff like that. So we thought that we would come on here and record something raw, some raw chat about periods. So we're going to start with basically period chat for the active girls, and kind of how it affects our training, because we all get affected in different ways. So do you want to start, Bea? Don't feel too much pressure.
Yeah. I don't actually get affected by my period too much in terms of hormones and the changes mentally or physically, like bloating, cravings, stuff like that. The part of me feels like I can use it as a bit of an excuse, like, when you feel really crap and you're like, oh, I wonder when I'm on. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm due on. That might be why I feel crap. So sometimes it's like a bit of a backup excuse. But otherwise, I don't know. I don't know if I have parts of it where I feel really good and can go hard and recover quicker. The worst thing for me is the day that my first day of my period, my back is like the worst. It's like I've deadlifted a few buses 100 times, and I have to take paracetamol and ibuprofen back to back constantly for about 24 hours.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
that's like
horrible.
Yeah, see, I've never ever had that.
So
I don't get period pains in my actual uterus though.
But you get them in your lower back.
Yeah, bad.
And you don't you don't get to, like you say, you don't necessarily feel, like you say, you don't get other symptoms like the cramping or the bloating or anything like that, but you definitely suffer with a whole 24 hours of like real bad back pain.
Yeah, apparently I get snappy.
Who says that?
Chrissy Wynn said that I've been really snappy. So, and I'm slightly less patient, but again, I didn't realise that, so oops.
Well, it's good to get the feedback. What about you, Carmen?
So I don't get any back pain, but I normally, actually, like more recently, the symptoms have been getting less intense, but I get like really intense. I can only describe it as like, it's like you've done a million sit-ups, like the ab kind of intensity pain, like kind of almost makes me feel sick. It hurts so much.
Oh, like ab cramps when you've finished exercising. I remember we both really had that backing once.
Yeah, that's the only way I can describe it to like Chris, just like, this is what it feels like. And maybe like the first day, take some painkillers like Fee said, and then normally I'm fine.
I wonder if everyone else gets this stuff. So
yeah, like you said, it felt like your fanny was dragging on the floor.
Yeah, that's
I don't get that.
It's been thrown around in my household so much.
I do love our period chats. Like I've literally been on the phone just sitting there giggling, and Ben's just been like, "What are you laughing at?" I'm just like, "Please chat."
Sometimes
But
prude's the way.
Yeah. It'll be
it's
open.
good. It's good to chat about it. What do you get anything else, Carmen? Like, do you get bloating, or do you?
Bloating, not really. Before I'm due on, I definitely notice that I'm craving sweeter stuff, and I get really frustrated with myself because normally it doesn't bother me. And then I'm just like, my appetite is crazy. Like I just can't satisfy my hunger. And then kind of once the period's done, like I'm just kind of back to normal. I'm just like, yeah.
Although we did learn, we're touching it briefly today, but I think we're going to touch on it in a more in-depth podcast in the future, is about the fact that why we actually get really hungry, like why the body needs all that kind of stuff. And there is a reason why just before and during our period, why we genuinely do crave sugar and why it needs more energy. But I just like and again I think we're going to touch on it in a second, so I won't go too deep in it, but before coming off the pill I had absolutely no issues, like anything. It's only kind of been the last 18 months that I've really noticed. I guess you girls are the same, and I guess we can touch on that in a second, but mine have been really varied, and to be completely honest, I think that it's because I've been really erratic because of coming off the pill. Then I was fine. Then I did a non-serious version, which still affected me, like of a bodybuilding prep back at the end of last year. And ever since then, it's kind of been a bit messed up. And I guess that it just needs time to recover. But yeah, I've really varied. Like some days I just feel really. I'll normally feel actually really bloated and horrible about 2 days before I actually come on, and then it's weird because when I'm on like day one, I then look really like I'm not bloated at all. Like my midsection feels really good. It feels tight, and it looks back to like a normal day. So which is a bit weird because most people say like the other way round, but I kind of get that. And then I've really noticed, like 2 or 3 days in the trot, when I'm on day 2, 3, 4, I've really noticed the cramps that Carmen spoke about. Like, and it's not actually during the workout, but it's if you go to that high intensity and then I stop for a minute to catch my breath, it then kicks in. But yeah, I definitely don't get any back suffering, but
you get acne.
I think maybe I get a bit.
It took too long to answer.
I think so. But I think I'm aware of it because I'll suddenly be like, I'm sorry, I was a bit moody today, wasn't I? But and then it's hard, isn't it? Because we can, like you said, feel like we can use it as an excuse, but it's weird because it is an excuse, but half the time it's actually probably not an excuse, but we don't realise.
Yeah. Moon cup. Carmen, you're a lover of the moon cup.
I'm converted. I'm never going back to tampons ever again.
If you could marry your moon cup, would you marry it?
I pretty much take it everywhere with me. It's amazing. Like,
well, I mean, we tried to join that enthusiasm, but I don't think me and Fia have not managed to get on that boat yet.
Yeah, I was so keen. I was always so jealous as well because you're like, I just got to put it in once, I just change it, and off I go. And then, trying it, I gave it a good few stabs, literally.
And you bought a different one, didn't you? You bought one and then bought the same one that I've got.
Yeah, so I bought one, didn't work well with that. Just didn't feel right. Bought the same one as you because I thought maybe we'd just have the same insides because we have the same everything else. And then again, tried it for a few times and it just didn't sit well for me. So I just want to be like good with the environment. So I kept trying, and then I've just took back to normal Lillet tampons. So like as little plastic as possible, but I just struggle with the moon cup still. So annoying.
It was like getting used to it, and everyone's like banging on about mood cup, and you're like, yeah, I'll get to it. And then the first couple of times you use it, you're a bit like, ugh. Like going through the night for the first time, you're a bit anxious. But yeah.
Going to the gym.
I wonder if everyone knows what the moon cup is. So it's just literally a little tiny silicone cup, and you have to put your finger and fold it, and then it like pops open and suctions on to your cervix. But yeah, it's a real weird idea of how it kind of works and stays there, and it doesn't leak, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, like medical grade, no risk of any complications.
Unless you try it and have complications.
Unless you have leakage.
But the say, and I think I was really inspired by obviously you, Carmen. You were sharing it on your Instagram, being like, "This is what I'm using," and I'd seen a few other people shouting about it, and I was like, "Oh, I really should try that." And then you done it, and then I saw Fee done it, and I was like, "Come on, Emma, do your thing for the environment." So, and I did the same as you girls. I decided to get the same one as you, Carmen, because you said that you were getting on well with it, and I think it was like a starter one or something. But yeah, I same as Fee. Like I tried it. I'm going to say 4 or 5 times, and I just couldn't. I wasn't comfortable. Like it didn't feel comfortable the first few times, and it just kind of, I don't know, I just didn't like it. And then also like just had a few dramas with it, which I came in fuming because I'd had a drama, and I was like, that's it, I'm not using this anymore.
You throw away, done with it.
I was just looking, because the one that I've got is called Intima, isn't it? Intima Lily Cup. They do like loads of different kind of shapes and designs.
And it comes in a little compact compartment that pops in your purse or your handbag. It's actually fair. Like if you get on with it, then it's really life changing.
Yeah,
and it's so good, and like if they can continue to evolve and new, like different, like more and more people do it, I'm sure that.
There we go.
Yeah, that's the one, the pink one from Amazon.
The different one. Shall I use this one?
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, because it pops up and down, doesn't it?
You can kind of go and shrink it down. But the other one looked like a different design that I've not seen. So maybe you just got to find.
Do you know what?
Maybe.
Well, I just really didn't like this might be too much information, but I just did not like the suction that it creates.
Yeah, I think taking it out is a bit, and the noises.
It's so traumatic.
I just was like, what is going on? I don't know. Like, it's just
a few people I've spoken to about them have said that, like, when you use a sanitary towel or tampon, you don't really pay much attention. You kind of think, that's gross, get rid of it. And without going into too much detail again, when you use the moon cup, I think it kind of makes you a little bit more interested in your overall health kind of thing.
Yeah.
So you are kind of like, oh, okay, that my flow's heavy, my flow's light.
Yeah.
Like, how you getting on? But I definitely notice if I do more exercise, and that might be why I finish really early, is that the flow tends to be a bit heavier, and it does help with the cramps. So that's why I think I tend to try and work out when I'm on my period as much as possible.
It's definitely like a trial and error thing. Like, if someone's going to try it, I wouldn't, like, don't just try it and be like, oh yeah, on with my day. Like, give it a few goes and try it on a day where you're maybe going to be at home, because it is faff to try and get in the right position. And getting it out, I was traumatized the first time I got it out, and then I think I texted you and you're like, that's normal, mate, that's just how it works. So I was just getting used to it.
Oh, I remember it must have been the first or second time I think I tried to put it back in. I was in the bathroom and I could hear someone at the front door, and we'd got guests, and I was freaking out. I was like getting all flustered, I can't get it back in, and like trying like 10 times. and just being like, oh.
I felt like I was 15 again, and I'd just started my period for the very first time.
Yeah.
It was very strange. I remember seeing it and thinking, like, how does this work? And then I think we'd had some messages in our group chat saying you have to fold it, and then it goes up, and then it's just it's meant to unpop inside. For those of you who don't know, you fold it, you put it up, and then it's meant to unpop inside you, and it obviously catches everything, and that's what creates this weird suction feeling of then pulling it out. But I mean, like, you know, Carmen gets on really well with it. Like she said, it's had huge benefits for her in terms of listening, like actually knowing what's going on with her body and stuff. But yeah, I tried it. I just feel good for trying, and I'm not suggesting that I wouldn't try again, because it is good for the environment. But yeah, I did what B said. I tried it for on various different occasions when I was like at home, and then yeah, just I haven't quite got to grips with it yet, to be honest.
Yeah, same. I don't know if I ever will, but
then, you know, you're using, like you said, you're using the Lilettes the tampons with less packaging, like, you know, non-applicated tampons. Obviously, they're just, it's just about doing your bit for the environment, and this is one way that, you know, that you can at least try.
Change, which is in the long term pretty, like, it's a good one. It's just any little change, you know, like, so yeah,
definitely. So I think as well, we're all very similar in terms of, like we mentioned earlier, we all came off some sort of hormonal contraception similar times ago, roughly 18 months to 2 years ago. So do you want to chat, do you want to go ahead first, Fee, and chat for your, like, for reasons and all kind of stuff like that?
I think I just realised that I'd been on the pill for over 10 years. And obviously when you're younger, you don't ask about the pill. And I remember asking Dad, because he would prescribe it to obviously loads of people as a GP. And I said, like, did anyone ever ask you about the hormones in it? Like, would anyone or parents, 16-year-old girls, ever say, well, actually, what does this do to me? And he said, no, obviously, no one cares. Everyone just wanted to use it as a form of contraceptive. So then you get to your mid-20s and you're like, actually, what is this doing to me? What effect is it going to have long term, if any? So I just decided, I've been on it for over 10 years. I think it's probably time to come off it and see what happens to my hormones naturally. I used to have really bad eczema as well. And after doing research, I realised that could have had an effect and an impact as well. So I wanted to see if that changed anything, which it did massively, which again, that's not going to help everyone with skin problems or eczema, but it really helped me. And I think I'm just over 2 years off the pill. It took about 6 months for my periods, I think about 6 months for them to become regular again. But yeah, now my skin's way better. I do generally feel pretty good, log my period so I know when it's coming up. And yeah, it's been a really, really good, beneficial change for me.
Carmen?
So I was on the contraceptive implant for 9 years, because they're like 3-year things, aren't they? It's the little one that goes under your skin. And I think the first one I had was amazing, like no periods, 3 years. I was like, yes, buzzing. I think the second one was exactly the same, and then it was on the last one that I just had complications. I think they changed the hormones in it or something, and I just did not get on with it. I ended up having like a period here, a bit of spotting there. Then I'd have like a period, a week off, another period, and I was like, I am done with this. So I came off of it, and then I think it took me a lot longer to kind of get back to normal, whether or not that was the kind of dieting thing through prep and whatever. But yeah, I think it took my hormones a little bit longer to kind of settle down. And hopefully now things are back to normal. But it did go through, and we were talking about this the other day, Emma, a spell of my periods being like 6 weeks apart. I think that's when we were training for a competition.
Yeah.
Champs. And now I think they're back to perhaps what they should be, which is like the kind of 4 week-ish.
Yeah, and obviously another thing we're going to touch on in the future is about exercise, well, like, not over exercise, but intense exercise and dieting and periods, and how you can lose your cycle and stuff like that. But yeah, obviously we know that when you do intense exercise, and maybe if you're not quite fueling enough, even if you don't realize, your cycles can be a lot longer, a lot more erratic, because you're not in that energy surplus that you need to be able to make it happen for ovulation. So yeah, I was the same with you around that time. That's when, to be fair, I did my competition, and like I said, I did this about 60% of the extreme to what I used to. But when I was on the pill, like, I came off the pill 18 months ago, so it was a good few months after you guys, for the same reasons. Like, I'd been on the pill for, I think, 10 or 11 years. And at the time, exactly same as Fee, like, you just went on it for went on it for contraception, and didn't really know or understand what it was doing to my body, other than the fact that it would protect me from getting pregnant. And I stayed on it and did all my years of bodybuilding, and I noticed over the years my periods got lighter and lighter. But the doctors, and I had multiple appointments, and the doctors always just said to me, oh, it's because you've been on the pill for so long. Like, when you come off the pill, your periods will go back to normal. And I must have been to 2 or 3 appointments, because I was, at this point, I don't know, 3 years ago, I was starting to think about, am I fertile? Like, am I having cycles? I've done all this years of bodybuilding, and this was kind of the start of me getting out of that lifestyle, because I wanted to listen to my health. So I never really lost the period on the pill, but we obviously know why, because they're fake cycles and you don't ovulate and all that kind of stuff anyway. But so I came off of it, again, the same reasons as you guys, really, to understand my natural hormones and to check that everything was working. And then, weirdly, and this is really strange, and I don't know if it's just because I finished competing, I then ate a shit ton of food, and nourished my body, but I actually went straight on. I didn't have this period of 6 months or so. Like, I actually got back to natural cycles. Yeah, like, straight away they went back to natural for about 6 or 7 months, which I was like, oh my god, I was so happy. From all these years, I just thought, I'm going to be suffering from like non-cycles, or it's going to take me months and months. And I went back to a natural cycle straight away, which we now know from our education that it's because you're eating the right things and energy surplus and all that kind of stuff. But then when I did my show back in October, November time, it then started becoming erratic, as in I just didn't have, but I just stopped having cycles. And then after that, we then started training for European champs, which, although we were fueling ourselves, we were training for like 2 hours a day, and probably didn't even realise that, even though we thought we were eating a lot, we probably weren't eating enough.
And the stress as well, you've had back-to-back stress of comp and then comp and then comp, so it's going to be taking its toll.
Yeah, and then it was good to chat, like we said, me and Carmen said about that the other day, and it was nice to hear that she had, it was reassuring to hear that somebody else had that too. And then that was in February, and then ever since, I've kind of been on 5 or 6 week cycles, which I think is normal I think a 5-week cycle is pretty normal if you're having it regularly. So as that's why at the moment I'm kind of on the understanding that things are better. I just naturally seem to be having like a 5.5-ish week cycle, but that is one thing that I am watching very carefully. And I actually do have a blood test kit. I've got the forms at home. My GP's, I've told all my GP this, and she said, because I said, I'm 29 years old, I'm getting to that age where I really want my hormones to be working, and she was like, come in and get a blood test. So I'm trying to hold off on that to see if things settle, but that could be something else maybe interesting if I do go and have that done, to have a look at my level of hormones, to check that I'm still not in this kind of on this backlash of having lost the cycle, and you know, you need a period of tender loving care to your body for a while to get it back. But that's where we're at with that.
Notification come up to say
Yeah,
about.
me too. Just clicked on it.
Oh, is that to do with the Zoom?
Yeah, that's quite a good idea, the blood testing. Like, I like that you're going to see how it goes naturally first, see if you can get back into a regular cycle and with less stress and maybe like a surplus of food and stuff like that, and then have that as a bit of a backup to see what the underlying things could be, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, I thought that, to be honest, I thought it was to do with at the start of lockdown, and I don't know if people watching or if either of you two can relate here, but I panicked a little bit about wanting to. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be less active. I want to just watch what I'm eating, and without actually realizing, like, I feel like I way overdone it in lockdown the first 6 weeks. And that's continued. I don't think that's helped with getting things back on track, but definitely the last kind of 8 weeks or so, we've all been learning about this stuff, and things have kind of retained a normal balance again. So that's also something that probably hasn't helped. So
yeah, this whole year has been a big, like, massive stress to everyone. I guess it's all been thrown up in the air, and especially, like you say, people at the beginning of lockdown would have got into a routine, and then realising lockdown's going on for longer, that you then start doing something else. So it's like you've not had any continuous routine for a few months, so that's just another curveball.
And the stress really affects, because it's to do with your, is it called hypothalamus? Is that the gland? Is that the
hypothalamus? Yeah,
that's the word. If if you're stressing, that can stop hormones from releasing and stuff like that. But
yeah, and that can be all to do with your amenorrhea and stuff, and low calorie intake, high calorie intake, and the effects of that. But for another day.
Cortisol, is that the stressy hormone?
Yeah, baby.
Stress
hormone.
Levels been all over the place, girls.
Yeah, I was going to say, obviously Fee knows Maddie from work, but she was really helpful to speak to, because I was like, my period's still not back to normal, and I was like proper stressing. And obviously when you have a kid, it takes a while for things to set back down, and she's like, it could take up to a year. So I kind of just accepted the fact that it could take that long for it to kind of settle back down, and it's quite nice having that.
That's so weird though, because you like, and I was under that assumption as well. I was like, do you know what? It doesn't matter if it takes up to a year. I've been on the pill for 10 years. Of course, my body's going to take ages to get back to normal. And then when I've spoken to doctors and GPs and stuff, and they're like, well, really, as soon as you come off the pill, your body's natural hormone should kick in, and you should be back on a period within 6 weeks. And I'm like, no chance, 6 weeks. Like, I was a good 6 months, and other people have been up to a year, and I'm like, 6 weeks. Like, no wonder. I don't know, there's just so much confusion about what's normal and what's not, and whether you should go to the doctors or see people or shouldn't. So it's just, I think it's still a bit of a confusing topic about the time afterwards as well, and how long it should take to get back to normal. But it's just such a individual thing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, our hormones are essentially they control everything in our body, right? And when we're putting in, all the pill is doing is suppressing, it's stopping the changes in hormone levels. So as soon as you take it out, your body is then, it's not been used to that for 10 years. Like it's going to react differently. You're going to feel different, and only if everything's in balance, and you're lucky. Like I was lucky that mine went back, but now, even though mine went back straight away, they're messed up now. So it's obviously just everyone's individual, but I do think that doctors back when we went on, I know this was like 10 years ago, but it just wasn't so talked about. It was kind of like, oh, just go on this pill. Whereas now I think hopefully there's a lot more information on, well, actually, do you know what this is doing to your body? And although it's not bad for you to be on it, you just need to be aware as you get older that you should have breaks and that your natural cycle.
The problem with that is that we've, like, as science teachers, we teach the menstrual cycle and we teach children about the hormones, but they're kids. So 16, 17-year-olds, they're still children, and they're not that interested in that, because as long as they're taking or they're on contraception, so they're not getting pregnant, that's their priority, isn't it? So it then takes them a good few more years to actually be like, oh, I wonder what this is doing.
Yeah. And something that Rennie said as well, like, I remember when I was perhaps 15 or 16, going to the doctors and like having a chat about the whole acne thing, like going on the pill for acne. And so many of my friends were on it. And remember, she said on that podcast to you, Fee, that it shouldn't be like that. You should be being put on hormones to sort out a skin condition.
Yeah, and it's being used maybe where it shouldn't have been used. But it's just it's a quick cure, isn't it, in some cases?
Yeah, I think you're like exactly like you said, Fee, you're right about we were all the same, right? I mean, I went on it, and it's so much, as parents, I guess you would probably be better for your child to be on it so that they don't get pregnant. You know, we're not absolutely not knocking the pill, because it clearly has its place, but for them at the time, being a youngster, that's kind of what it's for. And like Carmen said about doctors putting people on it for skin conditions, I think Rennie also mentioned, you know, we've all been listening to Rennie and learning loads of stuff from her. She's fantastic, by the way, guys. I'm sure we can link it down here, link her Instagram down here somewhere. But she also, I listened in one of her podcasts, and she said that a lot of people get put on the pill or hormonal contraception because of to regulate their periods. But in fact, all that's doing is the complete opposite, because it's actually stopping it from happening. So it's just it sounds a bit crazy.
A synthetic bleed that is made to happen due to the hormones that you've been put on, which are replacing what you would naturally produce. So it's all just like a vicious circle of bleh.
Yeah, mental.
It is.
Yeah. It feels weird, isn't it? Because all of us, it's like a 10-year period, and it might just be kind of like now, entering our 30s, like actual clarity. Like the whole of our 20s was just artificial hormones. It's just really weird. Yeah.
Well, I definitely think, why is it taking me this long? But you're right that back then, or during your early years, you don't care about this. But I think a lot of women of our kind of age group, like you say, we're all like entering or early, like into our 30s. It's really important to understand our hormones, what they're doing, and check that it's actually working.
It is weird. It's nuts as well, as females, and as like probably in my 20s, at the beginning of my 20s, I didn't even know what hormones were in my pill. I didn't know what type of pill I was on. I was just on the pill. It doesn't matter what was in there. I wasn't having babies, so I didn't care. Like,
people go, what pill are you on? You're like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's
But I bet there's so many women out there that I don't really know if is it combined, is it mini, is it progesterone only, is it whatever. But yeah, find out, guys, if you don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, hopefully this is going to make people think a lot about it. I mean, we also wanted to kind of get the side of, obviously, Fee deals with wellness and nutrition, and then we're also, all three of us were all like keen, active, you know, females. So we kind of wanted to come at it from a bit of a fitness and training perspective, which is why we mentioned, you know, how it all affects, you know, it affects us all differently. But I do think we're going to cover, maybe next time we'll cover like the sort of the different stages and how that can affect training and fueling our bodies and symptoms and stuff like that. I think maybe that will be interesting to cover next time.
Yeah, and like our different takes on it. So the different feelings we have in our different phases, how we all alter our nutrition if we do at all, because that all might be quite different.
Yeah. Especially like when you kind of know a little bit more. I said to Chris when we went out, I felt like I was flying. We went on a really long bike ride, and he was like, that's like the fastest you've gone. And I was like, it might just be because it's just that time of the month. Like, he was like, you did so well.
This is your week to push hard, Carmen.
Yeah, exactly.
Use it. Push.
Go ham. Right.
Absolutely.
On that note.
We'll sum that up, guys. Well,
track your period, everyone.
Yes, and check back here for more period chat. I'm sure we'll have some more funny banter in here between the bits and bobs we've got planned.
Yeah, we will. Right, I'm just going to stop it.